Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Code Blue, dedicated to all things unidentified, brought to you by bluebook.tv, the platform of the unexplained. Please check it out. It's free. I am Thor, and thank you for listening. The topic of this episode: UFOs hover over the history of the arts. The entanglements between ufology and religion have always been glaringly obvious. In Christianity, think of the star that moved across the sky to guide the wise men to Bethlehem. Think of the multiple ascents of Gabriel, or the parting of the Dead Sea to free the Israelites from Egypt. Think of Hindu gods' ascendants to the heavens in chariots. They separate at faith versus provability, because UFOs are provable. The only thing separating miracles from magic is the absence of scientific and technological understanding. An immaculate conception can be explained as an in vitro fertilization once its science is discovered and understood. Concepts of interdimensionality and multiverses as an explanation for appearing and disappearing UFOs reminds us of the labeling Latter-day followers have attributed to Jesus of Nazareth, that he is, as they are, not of this world. What makes this entanglement between the unidentified and religion all the more intriguing are not just all the stories involving Gabriel's ascendants and descendants, always presented as a winged angel in human form, but more intriguingly, the visual depiction of UFOs in religious artworks. In particular, during the medievals, it's almost as if something triggered an influx of UFOs into religious art between 1300 and 1700, the age of Renaissance, to be immediately followed by the age of Enlightenment, the age of logic and reason, coincidentally. Most famous is perhaps the picture of the Madonna with Saint Giovannino, painted in the 15th century by Domenico Ghirlandaio, depicting Mary attending to baby Jesus, while in the background a radiating UFO hovers above the ocean. And so as not to make his intention vague or ambiguous, Domenico places a man and a dog on the beach, observing the UFO. A very intentional addition, calling direct attention to the UFO, in a picture where the main subject is Jesus under the watchful eye of his mother. But according to Domenico, both of them are simultaneously also under the watchful eye of visitors in space. In the Serbian Cathedral of Sveti Veli, a 17th century fresco depicting the crucifixion, we can see not one but two intentionally placed unidentified flying objects, each showing a pilot or a passenger of this world or not of this world. Why did the artist take this intentional step in the 17th century to paint radiating vehicles above the crucifixion? If it's not radiation, it's propulsion. Both are of technological origin. Where did the artist get the idea, the model for it? What compelled him to include them? In 1486, in the Italian Church of the Annunciation, Carlo Crivelli depicts Mary on the receiving end of the Immaculate Conception, administered by way of a laser beam that penetrates walls. Foresightful, technically, and accurate regarding laser's capability by Carlo Crivelli. And nearby, as if by coincidence, Archangel Gabriel simultaneously takes time out to discuss a model of the city with Saint Emilius. You see, the more you look at the presence of chariots and unidentified flying objects in the Bible, the more you come across Gabriel. He is somehow always close. His is the realm of spaceflight. And yes, that is a laser beam penetrating the wall, and that is a spaceship emitting it, in a 14th century painting. Let's further remember that a painting, unlike a photograph, is intentional. Every little element of inclusion was decided by the artist, and nothing is random in religious art. In 1428, the miracle of the snow painting shows a bishop and a clergy observing the biblical miracle of August snowfall, dating back to 352 AD, when Gabriel appeared in the dream of Giovanni to tell him where to build a cathedral on the grounds of a village, and where he found snowfall on the ground, that would mark the location. The purpose of depicting a fleet of flying saucers in the background, however, is unknown, but it maintains the Gabriel connection, and these are not rows of orderly clouds, folks. The 1710 depiction of the baptism of Christ is almost too obvious. Yes, that is most definitely a spacecraft, intentionally drawn. And again, and over again, UFOs are depicted to be present at the crucifixion by medieval artists who were not eyewitnesses at the time. They're almost as far removed in time from it as we are. So why add it to the picture? Christianity, however, had no exclusivity on depicting UFOs in art form. A 6th century Peruvian hillside carving shows a figure that could be an alien. Set aside whether this is truly an alien or a human that is being drawn, let's just focus on the obvious. In the 6th century, only the inhabitant of a flying object could observe it. That's who's being communicated with through the painting. This is also true about the body of artworks and line-drawn images strewn across a vast landscape in Peru's region of Nazca, many dating back over 2,000 years. Then there's the Aztec astronaut, saddled into some kind of a machine, connected to a breathing tube with his foot ready to pedal to the metal, controls in hand, and wearing a helmet. Where did the Aztec artist get his idea? My logic tells me he didn't just come up with it. It's not out of nowhere. It is simply too specific and too intentional to be randomly invented. There are too many observable details we now know to be true aerospace technology components put together in one work of art to be coincidental. Even the body is half laying down for maximum protection against the takeoff thrust. It looks familiar to us now, yet this artwork is over 500 years old. Occam's razor speaks loud and clear on this, and other artworks we've looked at. Their artists didn't invent these things, they were depicting what they had seen or what was spoken of. Let's not leave the thousands of years of rich history of Chinese art out of the conversation. The craft looks small compared to the human, but there are plenty of modern encounter stories depicting aliens 8 to 12 inches tall. For them, this spacecraft, proportionally, would be the perfect size. In India, stories and pictures of Vimanas, flying chariots, are common through the Hindu texts and Sanskrit epics, including in the story of King Rama, who evolved from a human being into a god and ascended from earth to the heavens in a spaceship. Vimana means to measure, and it also means to traverse. The word is descriptive of their function, like passenger airplane. Egyptian art dating back to 400 BC shows a person, during the time of the pharaohs, offering a game to a being that definitely looks alien. And dating back even further to 1290 BC, there's this very curious wall carving in the Temple of Abydos, one of the richest sites of well-preserved full-color artworks from Egyptian antiquities, depicting what looks like, undeniably, a helicopter, an airplane, and a gunship. It looks too good to be true, yet there it is. Further back in time, we have cave paintings from Spain, Argentina, from the Aborigines of New Zealand, and from North America, all depicting similar creatures and crafts. Collectively, it is simply too much and too related to deny. They spread across the planet, across cultures, and across thousands of years of passing time, all telling the same story of encounters, sightings, and visitations, images that cannot be denied. What they tell us, collectively, and over again, intentionally, is that the artists were aware of these objects, they had seen them firsthand, or been told about them, and they found them important enough that they wanted to memorialize them in a permanent, long-term record. What better place than a fresco in the ceiling of a cathedral, a cave painting, or a permanent carving into the earth itself? Compared to the cave paintings and the random insertions into religious artworks, we actually have an easier job. All we need to do is point and shoot and recognize the reality. When we do, trust me, it will be liberating. You can watch or listen to this and other podcasts of the Code Blue series on Project Blue Book and bluebook.tv. Please check it out. It's free. This has been a Code Blue for all things unexplained and unidentified. Please subscribe, and each day, let's show some compassion and kindness. I am Thor, and thanks for listening. See you next time.